Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you all here today. I'm Negar Sagharchi, graduate student at the Department of Near and Middle Eastern Civilizations here at the University of Toronto. I want to take a moment to recognize and thank some individuals here today. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Dr. Elahé Omidyar Mir-Djalali, whose support of the Elahé Omidyar Mir-Djalali Institute of Iranian Studies had made this program possible. I also want to thank our mentor, Professor Mohammad Tawakkoli Targhi, the inaugural director of the Elahé Omidyar Mir-Djalali Institute of Iranian Studies, for supporting the Iranian Studies Students Forum. My sincere thanks also go to Bilal Hashmi and Leila Moslimi Mehni for organizing such an event. Just before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, this land has been the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, it continues to be the home of many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We are deeply grateful for the opportunity to gather and work on this land. Now, I will pass the floor to my colleague, Hania Bakhtiari, who is a PhD student and will moderating today's symposium with me. Just before we begin, Hania Jan, I want to ask Professor Tawakkoli Targhi if he has any remarks. Professor?
Thank you for organizing this wonderful event. That's it.
Hania Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nagarjan. Thank you so much, and thank you, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to today's talk on Beyond the Frames, the Impact of Illustrated Narrative. My name is Hania Bakhtiari, a PhD student at NMC University of Toronto, and I'll be moderating today's session. And I'm delighted to be here with you today. Before we start the talk, that will be presented with three brilliant artists that we will be having today. Let me introduce our first presenter and artist, Shabnam Adiban, who is presenting her insights on the work, it was just titled The Power of Art, Visual Storytelling in Social Movements. Shabnam Adiban is an Iranian artist based in Canada. She's best known for her illustration work that amplifies voices in human rights movements, including women life freedom movement. Through visual storytelling, her illustrations and motion designs have been featured in international publications and exhibitions, including the New York Times, the Standard, Citizen Press, Notre Dame Center for Social Concerns, as well as various other international media outlets and conferences. Beyond activism, Shabnam has illustrated several children's books, recently published a custom playing card deck inspired by Shahnameh, which is bringing ancient Persian stories to life through art. I'll be putting this information in the chat box and also her contact information in case any of attendees wants to get in touch with Shabnam Jan. And before we start the talk, just let me remind everyone, if you have any question about any of the talks, feel free to drop the question in the chat box. And that would be great if you also indicate who you're addressing the question to. And then we will get back to the questions after everyone is done with their talks. Thank you, everyone. And I think we will be listening to Shabnam Adiban soon. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy that I'm here today. I hope you are all doing well. Can I share my slides now? So my name is Shabnam Adiban, and I'm an Iranian illustrator, graphic designer, and also an activist. Other than making art for social media, my work mainly focuses on illustrating books, graphic novels, comic books, and I've also worked in product design, animation, and storyboarding. Today, I'm very excited to talk about the power of art, visual storytelling in social movements, and how art can inspire change. Art has always been a very powerful tool in movements, and we have seen its impact throughout history. whether throughout paintings, posters, murals, photography, performance art, conceptual art, and more. This was especially true during the woman life freedom movement in Iran. As an artist, I felt a deep responsibility to contribute. Many artists inside of the country, inside of Iran and outside of Iran, they did the same. They tried to be part of this movement by making artwork. And I wanted to be one of them. I'm going to show you some of my artworks that I made for this movement. But first, I'm going to explain a little bit about Women Life Freedom Movement. I'm sure many of you heard about it before, but I'm going to explain it very fast. On September 16, 2022, a 22-year-old girl, Mahsa Jina Amini, was killed by the morality police in Tehran only because she didn't wear her mandatory hijab properly. And she was only 22-year-old, and it was only a few days before her birthday. Morality police in Iran, they're basically a unit in Iran that they monitors women's appearance, and if they don't meet the imposed dress code, they get arrested, often with violence. So when this happened, a lot of people who were tired of years of oppression in Iran, they started to protest in many cities inside and outside of Iran. And a lot of artists try to make artworks to show that they are standing up. I started my work by creating a posters of Mahsa Amini's portrait. And I made this portrait and posters, and a few days after that, after I shared that on my Instagram, I went to a protest in Toronto that I was there at the time. And I was very surprised because I saw those very posters in the protests, people were holding them. And on that moment, I realized that I need to keep doing that. And this is important. For me, drawing faces of important figures is very important for several reasons. First, I think it can turn their faces into symbols. It could be symbol of movement or symbols of resistance or even sometimes symbols of hope and courage. And we ensure they are not forgotten. And I believe faces create a human connections and help viewers to relate and empathize with them. So I made more portraits. This is the face of Mashallah Karami, whose son was executed in January 2022 for his involvement in the Women Life Freedom Movement. And he's currently in prison only because of protesting the killing of his son. This is Mir-Djalali, Iranian singer and activist. He recently flogged 74 times only because because of his song "Take Off Your Scarf," which challenges the mandatory hijab laws. This is Nazila Marufian, Iranian journalist who interviewed Mahsa Amini's father. Tumaj Salehi, my favorite Iranian rapper and activist. And all of these people, they had their own stories, and I wanted to show their faces by my artwork to show that they are not forgotten. This is Mahmonir Molai, a mother. She lost his son, a 9-year-old son, Kian Pirfalak, who was tragically killed during the Women Life Freedom Movement. Despite facing threats and house arrest, she continues to fight for justice. In all of my illustrations, I use symbols for a more emotional connection. And you can see in this illustration on the right side, her eyes turn to rainbow, and she has a rainbow earrings. Rainbow is symbol of his son that she once shared a video of his son that he's saying in the name of God of Rainbow. The rainbow serves as a symbol of his memory and their bond. Kian dreamed of becoming an engineer and even built a small boat that could move on water. So I created a replica of his boat, and I went to the protest with that to honor his memory and his unfinished dreams. Speaking of unfinished dream, during the movement, many children, teenagers, they lost their lives. One of them was Nika Shakarami, a 16-year-old schoolgirl who was abducted, tortured, sexually assaulted, and killed by 3 men, security forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Inspired by her childhood video, I made this illustration that I'm going to show you right now, and I used her own voice on this illustration.
چقدر قشنگه، چقدر ناز بلنده، چقدر ناز بلنده، این که کار نداره، با آسودیت برسیده. چقدر ناز بلنده، چقدر ناز بلنده، من میشینم تو باز برا بودم بود
As I mentioned, art took many forms in the woman life freedom movement. One powerful example was a song by the talented young singer Shervin Hajipur, who used people tweets as a lyric. And he made a song and he shared that on his Instagram. Obviously, they made him to remove it, but because of nature of art, the song was everywhere and everyone were listening to that or singing that. I remember I myself, I couldn't listen to the song without getting deeply emotional because song was remind us the reasons behind the protest. And I decided to draw an illustration in an endless form to show the endless reasons behind the protest that we are doing. I'm going to play it right now.
برای توی کوچه رقصیدن، برای ترسیدن به وقت بوسیدن، برای خواهرم، خواهرت، خواهرامون، برای تغییر مغزها که پوسیدن، برای شرمندگی، برای بیپولی، برای حسرت یک زندگی معمولی، برای کودک زباله‌گرد و آرزوهاش، برای این اقتصاد دستوری، برای این هوای آلوده، برای ولیعصر و درختای فرسوده، برای پیروز و احتمال انقراضش، برای سگهای بیگناه ممنوعه، برای گریه های بیوقفه، برای تصویر تکرار این لحظه، برای چهره ای که میخنده، برای دانش آموزا، برای آینده، برای این بهشت اجباری، برای نخبه های زندانی، برای کودکان افغانی، برای این همه، برای غیر تکراری، برای این همه شعارهای تو خالی، برای آوار خونه های پوچالی، برای احساس آرامش، برای خورشید پس از شبای طولانی، برای قرصای اعصاب و بیخوابی، برای مرد میهن آبادی، برای دختری که آرزو داشت پسر بود، برای زن زندگی آزادی، برای آزادی، برای آزادی.
Thank you for watching that. So after I shared this video on my social medias, many non-Iranian people messaged me, and because of the visual, they could understand the song better. So art can serve as a universal language as well, and it can help for raising the awareness. So for this artwork, I used the actual videos and actual scene that happened in Iran before, so people could relate to the illustrations better. For years, the government of Iran, they attempt to divide Iran's various ethnic groups. But during these protests, we saw how strong the solidarity among the people truly is. Iran is a very vast country, and despite the linguistic and cultural differences across regions, we are all Iranian. And I created this painting inspired by Iran's map using traditional clothing from different regions to symbolize our unity in diversity. I use traditional clothing to represent cities as well in my illustrations. This piece shows the people of Sanandaj in their beautiful Kurdish clothing, honoring the protester and those who lost their lives. This woman could be Mahsa Amini in her red Kurdish dress. Similarly, I use clothing as a symbol for Zahedan, another city deeply affected. I also wanted to remember Khoda Nur Lajei, a young man full of life who was tragically killed. Social media plays a very crucial role in movements like this, and it helps us to spread the news and awareness faster than ever and connecting people globally in real time. However, it also has some downsides as well, like AI using artist artwork without their permission or spreading the fake news, and algorithms on social platforms like Meta prioritizing commercial or entertainment content over human rights issues. So we artists, we need to find a way to be part of this algorithm. So sometimes I try to create a creative work to be part of the algorithms. For instance, for this pattern that I made, because of the visual, people pause a little more and want to see what happened so I can convey the message that I want to say. I also wanted to introduce this book that I worked on, which I had the honor of illustrating, Woman Life Freedom. It's directed by my favorite artist, Marjan Satrapi. I've worked on 2 different chapters in this book, and it has been translated into multiple languages, and it's available in bookstore and online. So you can see more of my artworks about the protest, about Iran there. And I want to say the new year in Iran, it begins with the spring, and we call it Nowruz. So I would like to wish you all a very happy Nowruz. And this illustration that you are watching right now, 2 years ago, I asked my Instagram followers how they wish to celebrate Nowruz in the future. And their responses were full of hope. They dreamed of dancing in the streets, a thriving economy, and end of mandatory hijab, a life without fear or oppression. They wished for unity. And I made this illustration, and I realized that art can be a tool for hope, for spreading hope, and for reminding us a future that we are fighting for. In conclusion, art is a very powerful tool in social movements like this, and we have highlighted some of its important roles, like raising awareness, keep memories alive, and many other roles that I mentioned before. But I want to say one thing that I realized over the years is that art acts as a soft weapon with a very, very sharp messages. And many people in Iran are afraid to speak out directly because of the oppression they face. And it's totally understandable, especially in countries like Iran. And it gives them a chance to share their voice and show they are standing up, even if they can't do that so openly. And honestly, this is why I keep creating. For a long time, many of us felt isolated in this fight. And after the movement, when we see others, even those taking small steps, like sharing an artwork on their social media, it reminds us that we are not alone and we are more than we thought. And it's very important for, I think, everyone, for me. I want to say that I, as an artist, I cannot separate my own life, my own personal life and job from protest art. And every time I create a protest piece, I spend hours looking at painful images or videos, and it stays with me. But this is the path that I've chosen, and when I compare it with the thing that activists, the work that activists and artists inside of Iran, I feel this is nothing in compare with their work. And when I feel exhausted or discouraged, I turn to the words of Iranian poet Rumi. The wound is the place where the light enters you. I have created many other protest arts as well that because of the time, I'm not able to show all of them today. But I want to mention that I also create non-protest art, and I would love to share one of my latest projects with you. Um, it's a deck of playing cards inspired by Shahnameh, the Persian epic, and each card that I made is carefully crafted with meaningful symbols and fine details. And it comes with the booklets that I explained about all of the characters and their stories and how they are connected. And the project is currently on pre-launch on Kickstarter, and I'm planning to launch it in a few weeks. And if you'd like to support me, I'm gonna leave a link. And thank you all for listening. May freedom for all, woman life freedom. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shabnam John, for your wonderful talk. We really enjoyed talking to you, and also all that wonderful creative slides that you were sharing with us. So let me open the floor for our next presenter, for our next artist today, Mojgan Ghare. Just let me take a moment to introduce our next artist. Mojgan Ghare is a Toronto-based graphic designer and a self-taught illustrator with a background in art and engineering. She holds an MA in graphic design from Iran and MSc in systems design engineers from the University of Waterloo. In her day-to-day profession, she designs data visualizations for multi-billion-dollar construction bids. She has been trusted by major companies to create large-scale graphics for industrial expos such as CMTS Toronto, the Fastener International Exhibition in Las Vegas, and the Saudi Infrastructure Expo. Beyond her work as a designer, illustration is one of her greatest passions, a creative pursuit that allows her to explore human emotions, stories, and everyday moments. Primarily working in digital media, she is drawn to human figures, capturing the beauty and depths of ordinary life. In the work or project Ordinary Life of the Ordinary Humans, she delves into how illustrations serves as a powerful medium to celebrate the nuances of everyday experience. Thank you so much. So we will be listening to Mojgan.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Hania, for the warm intro. And people behind the scene for organizing this session. And I'm absolutely thrilled for being here and having this opportunity to share some of my illustration as a side of my creative practice that is deeply personal for me and deeply reflective. And just let me share my screen in order to probably start. So as Hania mentioned, I'm going to talk about the ordinary lives of ordinary humans. And for today, my plan is to speak a little bit about my background and then explain how the journey of illustration started for me. And I have two distinctive phases going through this journey of illustration. The first initial phase was the time that I was constantly working on pen drawings, and then there are some turning points that had a very pivotal role in order to turn into digital illustration. So I'm going, for the sake of saving time, after having a short introduction about myself, I'm going immediately jump into my artworks, so we have more time in order to review more artworks together, and I will explain the story behind these artworks and tell what was the turning point for me. So as was mentioned, I am lead graphic designer at Acon, and over there, as many may know, Acon is one of Canada's leading construction firms that had been contributed in many landmark projects. One of them that is quite famous is Highway 47. And over there, my role is to support a wide variety of pursuits across sectors such as nuclear, civil, urban transportations, and etc. And mostly I support this company through creating infographics and communication design. But at the same time, outside of these, I would say, a structured technical world, I pursue illustration as something that helps me to process my own feelings and the implication that I get from the surrounding area. And I, most of the time, through my illustrations, explore the quiet, emotional, unnoticed moments of ordinary people just like you and me. And, you know, this talk is it was a really good opportunity for me to go back and look through my own artworks and kind of figure out what are the differences, what are the commonalities. Something that I discovered by myself while I was reviewing my artworks was that I'm more fascinated by women's, but I explore human feelings through my illustration, and this is something that I call my passion, and it doesn't have any contrast with my profession, but this is something that I am very interested to and follow it. And as it was mentioned again by Hania, I was born and raised in Iran, and I initially pursued mathematics before discovering that I have a passion for visual storytelling. And by the time I was studying mathematics, I was quite fascinated by geometry of the shapes. And probably one of the initial things that I started to do was creating geometric patterns. And at that time, I figured out that I want to learn more from the world of creating images. And for that, I changed my path and started to study graphic design and got my BA and MA in graphic design by the time I was still living in Iran. And then in 2015, I moved to Canada and started another, exploring another field of design, systems design engineering. And on that time, I was so focused on working on human-computer interaction. And I wanted to see how I can make these sorts of interactions more intuitive and more memorable for human beings. So I studied cognitive ergonomics. Basically, I was more focused on large interactive interfaces and make it more intuitive for humans by the time they are interacting and engaging with these tools. So the question here is, when did my passion for illustration started? I can say that it was during the time that I was undergraduate student studying graphic design. And at that moment, I developed 3 different habits. One of them was carrying a small sketchbook almost everywhere with me, constantly filling its pages with pen drawing. The other habit, which I think it had a very significant role in shaping my artistic journey, was the habit of writing down impressions of people and trying to just capture how they are feeling and processing different sorts of emotions. And the third habit, which I still sort of have it with me, is, just like the way that I was carrying my sketchbook everywhere, that habit was carrying a tiny compact camera with myself everywhere, taking candid photos, random photos from people around me in order to kind of analyze and capture some authentic moments that were most of the time unseen by themselves. So for many years, illustration has remained a personal pursuit for me. I never wanted to explore other pathways. I just wanted to explore these pen drawings and see what else or what other layers I can add to this illustration. I have never been in a master apprentice relationship about my illustrations, so whatever I did, I just learned it by myself. And what I can say is that over years, I developed a personal style, which, because at the time I was living in Iran, it was under the influence of Iranian visual culture, which is very enriched, full of intricate details. So here are 2 other examples of that time. 2 pen drawings, which you can see here. I added a tiny layer of color as well. Most of the time, those pen drawings were black and white. The illustration, when I use the term illustration, it means that I wanted to communicate a specific story with these artworks. So the one on the right is it's very personal. I was processing loss of a loved ones, and you can see the face of that loved ones in that illustration. And I wanted to go through the pain. I was exploring the idea of death and the idea of afterlife. And the one on the left is called Echo Gaze. And I wanted to capture the moment that people are absorbing something with their spirit, with their soul. It's not just observing, you're absorbing something. It seems that the woman in this picture is fascinated, is caught between thought and feeling. It seems that she is looking at something that is deeply meaningful, possibly beautiful, possibly mysterious. And I believe that moments like this probably has happened to all of us. But the point is that when you are going through the phase of being fascinated with something, you have no chance to look at yourself. So someone from outside should look at you and kind of reflect this facial expression of being fascinated. So this is another artwork that I created by the time I was still in Iran. And I had a critic, this artwork is a critic about the way marriage is presented in Iran. For many young women, it's just a fairy tale-like goal. And it just, in Iran, I still believe that the way is exactly the same even today. Gender roles are traditionally very well defined, and often seems that marriage and motherhood is seen as a primarily or even the ultimate goal for young women in Iran. And at some point, I was feeling the pressure, the societal pressure, the pressure of these cultural norms on myself, even on myself. And it was a challenge I could see that it's a challenge for educated Iranian women and working mothers to go through these culturally accepted and traditions or cultural expectations. So in this piece, you can see a young woman in his wedding dress, but the idea is that, you know, for many young women, the way it is presented is that the life, the future, the after wedding process, everything is gonna be very luxury because the wedding itself seems to be very luxury. And this woman is wearing a headpiece, which is very luxurious, full of details, but at the same time, it's very overwhelming for her, and it's just blindfolding that woman. And it seems that the way that she is not able to see indicates her lack of awareness or lack of choice about the life that she's entering, as if she doesn't know that she's entering this union without truly seeing and understanding what lies ahead. This is another piece that was inspired by a passage from the Death Hot Scrolls. The book is talking about personal growth, self-awareness, mortality, and search of meaning in life. And I just feel that for many Iranian women, it is one of the main struggles throughout their lives, because there are, as I said, there are many traditionally cultural norms that is just limiting the way that women want to grow, and they never find a chance. And there is a specific line in this passage says that if we are in a period of personal unhappiness, it just reveals that our values are misplaced and we are on a wrong path. And in case we want to avoid experiencing this discontentment, we have to change our values, we have to change our path. And in this artwork, what I'm trying to show is that this fragile woman has a dream to grow outside of all the limitations that she's suffering from. She is trying to reach out certain goals outside of those limitations, but there are things that she's not capable to see, glass-like factors that is limiting this woman. So she's suffering a trouble in order to grow and to reach out to her goals. This piece called Butterfly Kids, it was created for a charity raising funds for kids suffering from epidermolysis bullosa. It's a skin condition that is referred to as butterfly skin, meaning that kids or people who are suffering this condition, their skin is so thin and fragile that it's just like a butterfly wing. And in this figure, you can see that the whole figure, the whole body is covered and appeared in bandages, both symbolizing the protection and also the wounds that the EB kids have to endure daily. And the color red here is just symbolizing the idea that this figure is wounded, is covered with blood, but at the same time, you can see the idea of strength, growth, and hope. And butterflies that are flying around this figure is just reinforce the delicate nature of these children's skins, as well as the lightness and purity of their spirits. And the face seems to quite serenely endure this pain and just have some sort of inner struggle with the condition that is causing a lot of pain for it. These two pieces is quite interesting. Quite interestingly, both of them are about migration, but the one on the right belongs to the time that I was planning my journey to coming to Canada, and the other one on the left is the one that I made probably a couple of weeks after arriving to Canada. And these two pieces are quite personal because I was trying to process the idea of migration, and it was an emotional journey for me. I had some sort of sense of dislocation, and I was trying to search for my own identity in this new place. And although I have many of my belongings from Iran with me, it seemed to me that going through them in an unfamiliar territory made change their identity as if they do not belong to me anymore. So I had this emotion of being suspended between two different cultures, falling between worlds, and I was uncertain where to land. And in the picture on the right, you can see that I'm growing, getting out of my safe place. But in the picture on the left, you can see that I'm just falling out, and it doesn't seem that there is a land beneath me in order to kind of safely sit on it and think about it. It just feels that I'm falling out of my own dreams. And you can see pomegranate in many of my artworks. Basically, it has a personal meaning for me, but in Iran, it's a symbol of love. It's a symbol of fertility. So it's as it was something that historically had quite meanings in Iranian visual culture. It's something that has a very strong presence in many of my artworks. And this piece, I can say after a year of coming to Canada, I still had this feeling of sorrow. And again, this piece is very personal. The bird is symbolizing myself. And the bird seems to be in an enclosed frame, suggesting a kind of protected space, suggesting something like a memory of home, suggesting something like a garden, which is most of the time being with plants, being inside the garden, it feels sort of safe for me. And you can see that above this safe place, there is a heavy cloud that is raining. It is causing falling drop. It's just raining. So it has a hint of sorrow. It has a hint of uncertainty and hint of displacement. And still, from the same cloud, I was trying to show the idea of renewal and resilience out of this cloud. You can see new leaves are growing, as if I'm trying to get out of this safe place that I made for myself here in Canada and trying to explore new things in my new place. And last couple of examples from the time that I was exploring pen drawings are these pieces, which for the very first time I tried to work with different materials to see how I can add more layers of color or probably identity to my artworks. And I was exploring the idea of how you can delicately have sort of interaction with other people, even it's just with eyes, even it's just slightly looking at each other, or how you can show the idea of being bold if you have a very unconventional dress, if you have a very unconventional hair design, but you are trying to be yourself, you are trying to be as bold as you can. So after this time, there were certain turning points in my artistic exploration, which at the end of the day, it led me to start digital illustration. And what was those turning points? First, I got graduate. I had 2 degrees in 2 different design fields. And part of the thing with design is that you have to get rid of and eliminate all unnecessary details. You have to be more logical. You have to focus on clarity over detail. So for the very first time, I thought maybe I don't want illustration to remain something personal for me. Maybe this is the time that I want to share it with other people. And at that moment, I was getting, feedback, very positive feedback from Iranian community around me in University of Waterloo. So I started questioning my creative approach. I started to question why I'm not in the social media sharing my artworks. And this caused me to start exploring global illustration trends. And at the same time, looking at those trends, I tried to transition just gradually to digital illustration. And at the same time, I had this idea of finding a way to merge my different skills. So it doesn't need to that graphic design be something separate from illustration. I wanted to find a way in order to have a bridge between them. And for most of my graphic design projects, I was working digitally. So what is the point that I still am not able to create digital illustration? And all this question at the end of the day caused that I start practicing digital illustration. And again, you can see in many of my pieces that I'm exploring the idea of self, exploring the idea of identity, just like the way that other people may question these things for themselves. And this is one of the pieces that I created digitally. It's a woman, faceless, for the very first time. I didn't want to reflect anything through facial expression. I wanted to convey meanings through just figures, through other elements, just like the way that a graphic designer is thinking. So for the very first time, I started to make all my figures faceless. And this figure, you can see, is holding a mirror, but the mirror has lost its reflective surface. So it's not clear that the woman is inside or outside of that mirror, is looking at herself or looking outside of that mirror. It just seems that she's coming outside of a dark background, trying to grow. So again, as an Iranian woman who has come here and is just comparing two different cultures, comparing societal norms here in Canada with Iran, still one of the central subjects that I'm exploring is the idea of growth for women. And in this piece, again, I'm playing with the boundaries. I'm trying to kind of question the idea of real. It's not clear where real begins or where it ends. And it's just a playful piece, I think. And these are other digital illustrations. So at this time, I can say for the very first time, figures that I'm creating have a bolder bodies. They are not as fragile as the way that I was creating pen drawings. It seems that, I'm trying to be more consistent in terms of colors, adding vivid colors, which is quite different with the phase that I was creating pen drawings. And as visual elements, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, just that you have like around 2 minutes left.
Okay, sure. So yeah, so these are other examples. And this one trying to be bold again. And as Shabnam explained, Woman Life Freedom, this is one of pieces that I created for this movement. Again, trying to be bold, trying to be part of the movement. And the woman is standing quite upright. She has a protective feature, protective arms, crossed arms, but she is supporting and protecting freedom. And this artwork, Breaking Free, again, it was created for the Woman Life Freedom. It seems that we are reclaiming freedom and life behind imposed boundaries. So I just quite past other illustration, and this is just one of my projects from work, and I just brought it here. Wanted to show you how I merge different skills from graphic design to illustration and use these skills at work, and how I use these illustration skills quite seamlessly in order to communicate information, how I use it for data visualization at work. And I can say there is no difference for me. The bridge that I was looking for was made. And here is another example of data visualization. Again, illustration is part of this data visualization. And this is a Power BI dashboard design. that my own goal was to make it more engaging, at the same time more memorable for the users, and also make it more approachable for the users. And this is my contact information. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Mojgan, for leaving your personal narratives and skills and offering such uniquely perspective on art. So first, we're moving to our last presentation today. I just might need to take a moment to introduce our next presenter, Melika Saeeda, who is offering her insights on the work illustration as a reflection of life, my creative process. Melika Saeeda, an Iranian-Canadian illustrator based in Toronto since 2017, has gained recognition for her wide-ranging work from murals to book illustrations. She has collaborated with places like the Toronto Reference Library and TIFF Festival, TOAF, Street Arts Toronto, the Bentway, BIAAs, and many community organizations, and earning awards like the 2022 SCBWI Impact and Legacy Award and the 2019 SCBWI Glass Sleeper Award in Montreal, Canada. And yeah, we are opening the floor for Melika.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Hania, for introducing me. Let me quickly share my screen. Now you're seeing my screen, right? Okay. Yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Melika Saeeda. I am an illustrator, muralist, and a visual artist, originally from Iran and now based in Toronto. Today, I want to take you through my journey with illustration, how it has reflected my life, helped me process identity, and how it continued to be my way of connecting with the world around me. As a kid, I loved reading picture books, not just for the stories, but because I was fascinated by the illustrations. I would get completely drawn into the images and wonder who are the artists behind these pictures. They look like children's drawing, but more polished, more thoughtful. I didn't know even illustration was a profession. I just knew I wanted to draw like that. It wasn't until I started at the art. It wasn't. Sorry. It wasn't until I started studying art at Art University of Tehran that I realized illustration could be a real career. In my very first semester, I started reaching out to the art director just to try, and to my surprise, I heard back from them. Soon my illustration were being published in children's magazine and picture book that opened a door, and I walked through it. Eventually, I became an art director myself at a publishing house, and I had loved as a child. To see my name on books and to be part of the creative process at that level was surreal. It was a full circle moment that showed me how illustration had quietly grown from a dream into a real path. In art school, I studied Persian miniature painting. I was drawn to its flatness, its spiral composition, its sense of rhythm and storytelling through shapes and colors. Those flatness, those influences still live in my work today, in the way I compose a scene, the way I flatten perspective or decorate a space with texture and detail. But working in publishing in Iran came with serious challenges, especially as a female illustrator. One of the hardest parts was dealing with censorship. I was required to draw every female character wearing hijab, even children, even in private settings. It was frustrating and exhausting. If I didn't follow those restrictions, my work wouldn't be published. Contracts would disappear. My name would be removed from credits. That tension, the push and pull between expression and limitation, was something I could no longer accept. Eventually, I made the hardest decision of my life to leave Iran. I immigrated to Canada in 2017. It wasn't easy starting over in a new place, not knowing where I belonged, but I knew I had to be somewhere I could draw honestly and without fear. In this new country, illustration became my anchor. I began drawing as a way to process everything: grief, discovery, joy, culture shock. I illustrated what I saw around me and what I felt inside. My drawings became more personal, more autobiographical. Each piece was a tiny window into how I was experiencing this new chapter. In 2018, I was invited to design and paint my first mural in Canada. That experience opened a new chapter for me. Suddenly, I had a much larger canvas and I could bring my stories into public space. I love the scale, the interaction, and the way people responded to the work while it was in progress. I felt visible and connected. Since then, I have created murals in neighborhoods across Toronto. Each project feels like a dialogue with the space and community it lives in. Mural work gives me the chance to take my visual language, pattern, color, emotion, and make it part of the city itself. These are some of my examples of mural design. In recent years, I have been deeply moved by the women life freedom movement in Iran. As a woman and as someone who experienced life under those restrictions, I felt connected to the protest and the courage of the people. I created illustration to honor the bravery of Iranian women and girls, those who refuse silence, those who fight for basic rights. For me, illustration became not just a storytelling, it became resistance, remembrance, and a call for freedom. And as an artist, it's especially difficult when you're emotionally connected to what you're illustrating. It's not just about creating a beautiful image, it's about connecting, channeling pain, fear, anger, or hope. When I draw about injustice or about women's rights, I feel it in my body first, and then I translate it through my hands. These pieces carry weight, but they also carry truths. Becoming a mother changed my art too. There is a tenderness and chaos to parenthood that naturally shows up in my work. A small gesture, layered emotion, quiet joy. My son is often my inspiration. Sometimes he appeared directly, and other times it's just the feeling of being his mother that guides my work. Today, I'm represented by Red Fox Literary, a wonderful agency that supports me in creating picture books and illustration project. It's a new chapter for me, one where I'm continuing to explore themes of identity, belonging, and home while dreaming about the stories that reflect lived experience and imagination. Some are playful, some are deeply personal, but all of them are rooted in life. I have a visual diary for my quiet, reflective moments, the kinds of images that comes from stillness and observation. These are things I don't always plan. They just happen when I listen closely to life. On the subway, between my friends, at family events, outside by the sea, just observing. And to end, I want to say this: I draw to remember, I draw to resist, I draw to connect. For me, illustration is not just a career, it's a way of being. Thank you so much for listening to my journey. Thank you. Let me stop.
Thank you so much, Melika Jan. Wow, I'm sure everyone enjoyed, just like me. So if we have any questions in the chat box or anyone wants to raise any questions, we would be happy to discuss the questions.
I just want to say that the 3 works are brilliant and really inspiring. I'm really proud of the kind of work Shabnam, Mojgan, and Melika you are doing, and push the limits, move forward, because this is a world-class kind of art in making. So keep up the good work, all 3 of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think there's a question from Susan. So you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, this is a question for each of you. What do you find inspiration today? I know one said there's child, but in modern media or any kind of music, or what do you find causes you to create more than anything else today? Thanks.
Any of the presenters can start.
For me, I would say I'm still fascinated with people, and I still like this old habit of watching people, observing what they are doing, observing their emotions. Part of the reason is that I still have to work on intuitiveness of interaction when I'm working on graphic design projects. And if I increase the knowledge of human beings, if I increase the way that they are processing information, it just helps me to have better result in my design works. And I can't stop that to enter into my illustration aspect of life as well. So something I always keep practicing is just observing human beings, and it's very, very inspiring for me, even today. And I just carry this habit with myself since the time it started. It never ended.
I'm sorry, you said what inspired you? I didn't hear the question properly.
I was just saying, what do you find inspiration today? You know, I feel like culturally we are inspired because we're from Iran and because unfortunately a lot of us are displaced. But today, even though you might feel fairly safe, what do you find inspires your work?
For me, it depends on the work. You saw my work is like two different lives. One part is completely protest art, and the source of my inspiration is the people inside of the country and the experience that I had as a woman in Iran. It's only 5 years that I'm out of Iran, and so I could find a lot of inspiration about Iran and the situation that currently people are in. But other than that, for my other works, I love making something that I have in my mind, a picture. When I see a picture in the street, for instance, a street full of people, I love to remove extra objects and just focus on one specific idea. And that really inspired me to show something that I have in my mind. Sometimes I work when I'm in during my commute in the subway. I just want to release what I have in my mind. And it's getting harder and harder with AI. I actually that you can see that you actually can make an artwork in a second, but an artist should spend hours, maybe days, months for the deck of playing card that I show you. It took me like 8 months, something like that. It's getting hard to find to stay inspired and motivate, but this is the thing that I myself, I love it. I cannot live without art. And I try to find inspiration from everything around me just to release my mind, to show what I have in my mind.
And if I want to add something briefly, like Mojgan and Shabnam, I also inspired by the world around me, like my presentation. And I just wanted to add, I love to see Mojgan and Shabnam presentation and explore how much we have in common. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful responses to the question. Nagar, I think you have something to say.
I have a question for Shabnam John. First, thank you all for sharing your wonderful illustrations. They were really amazing. Shabnam John, I believe that you exhibited your artworks regarding women life freedom movement in different exhibitions. I was wondering if did you receive any feedback from Iranian or non-Iranian audiences in exhibitions, and what were those feedbacks?
Sure. Yes, during the movement, I was so busy in doing my artworks, and I got so many messages from people who worked hard to like make an exhibition or something, or I don't know, a conference or something like that. And I said yes to almost all of them. I made a channel, and I said that everyone are free, because they need to have the permission. I said everyone are free to use any of my artworks, and because that was my purpose. I wanted to share them as much as possible, and I didn't care like what's the name of the exhibition or something like that. So I don't honestly know all of their names, but some of them send me pictures, videos, and a lot of good feedback. And what was really important for me was the messages that I got from non-Iranian, because we Iranian, we know what's happening in Iran. And one of my purpose was to show what is happening inside of the country to non-Iranian. And yes, a lot of them messaged me, a lot of them because of the book that Marjan Satrapi, I told you that I was involved on that book. Because of that, a lot of non-Iranian emailed me, messaged me, and they wanted to know more. And that was very, very important for me. And because, you know, working in this kind of subjects are really hard emotionally, and you feel like discouraged, you feel that does it matter? Like, is anyone going to see that? Is it important, or is it like nothing? And getting this kind of messages inspired me to continue, and yes, it was very important for me.
Thank you, Shabnam Jan. Is there any other question that we can discuss together? So if there is no other question, I just ask the last question. My question is for Melika. Melika Jan, thank you so much for your talk, and I really enjoyed seeing like how you moved everything throughout all these years. My question is whether you still feel like, because you're working with like Toronto kind of based kind of arts, street arts, if I'm not mistaken. So I just wanted to see if you still find those elements from back home, like creeping into your work still, like you're still being impacted by all those thoughts, whether like negative or positive, whatever type of thoughts that you still have from like years before moving to Canada, being like having their footprints on your work.
Yeah, sure. I think the identity and then being an Iranian is part of my identity, and I grew up witnessing Iranian art through Persian carpets, our architecture. So some of those influences are intentional, some of them are unintentional, but I think it's a big team, and I'm still exploring, and I love to show what makes me like influenced by those teams, whether I'm like illustrating a book, whether in mural design. Yeah, I love to show what I have, what I inspired by. Yeah, I try my best to show off. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you so much for your question.
Of course, yeah. So thank you all for attending today's talk. I think we've come to the end of our time together for today. I'd like to thank all three presenters once again for their insightful presentations on art, sharing whatever they had with us. And I'd like to especially thank again Dr. Tabakoli and Dr. Omidyar Mir-Djalali for attending the talk with us. Yeah, thank you so much, and have a good evening, everyone.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Iranian Studies Student Forum and its leadership, particularly Leila and other members of the board, for bringing such a talented Iranian artists who are really doing amazing work. Shabnam, Mojgan, Melika, keep up the good work, and we look forward to learning more about you and about your work in the near future. I'm really inspired.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for all the behind the scene people who tried really hard in order to have this session. It was very positive, and I learned a lot. I enjoyed watching Melika's and Shabnam's artworks. And it was a great pleasure for me to meet other professors, other people at this meeting. And thank you again, especially from you, Leila, for having us, for giving more information, for just going back and forth to make everything to set right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thanks.
And enjoy this
You as
spring.
well. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.